If you didn't subscribe our channel yet, please subscribe our channel, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get our latest updates. People on the scariest experience of their life, that can only be attributed to the paranormal. These stories from askreddit will turn you from a skeptic to a believer. Number 1. We saw the ghost of an old woman during a visit to a graveyard. I went to a graveyard at about midnight with a group of friends to visit an old friend who died in a car accident. While we were standing around his grave, telling good stories about him, I hear a faint voice of an elderly woman. One of my friends says out loud, "Oh shit, WTF?" I stand up and look toward the source. I saw a very old woman, literally dressed in a white tattered nightgown about 100 feet away. She started talking to us. "Sir? Get over here now, I need help." We stood still. No one said a thing. The part that weirded me out was that she used the singular word "sir" when clearly there was 5 of us. She started walking closer and started speaking again, but even louder. "Boys, I need your help now." Note the plurality. Then, she literally started running toward us, screaming nonsense. We were all scared out of our minds, so we ran back to the car, with this old woman close behind. We reached the car, which was a 2-door, and everyone got in before me, including the driver, so the driver's seat was blocking my entrance to the back seat. I yelled as I approached the car and he got out and let me in. Doors slammed and we flew down the small graveyard roads to the opposite side, where the exit was. This is where shit got weird. We get to the other side of the graveyard in like 10 seconds. We're speeding toward the exit, and we approach a curved road that was well lit. And the old lady ran onto the road. No way she ran over there that fast. I see her trying to chase us down and finally she lets out the most terrifying scream I've ever heard. Sounded like she was being murdered slowly and painfully. We fled the scene just seconds after and never returned. 4 other friends of mine can testify as witnesses to that night. By far the most terrifying experience in my life. Number 2. A strange voice appeared on our voice recorder. In high school, me and my friends started and ran a paranormal investigators club. We were lame and it was mostly just an excuse to hang out. We did have a mild interest in ghosts, and our town/school had plenty of urban legends to go off of. We didn't get permission from the school to have activities outside of campus, and we couldn't go in any buildings that had urban legends surrounding them. So we were stuck outside of buildings, on campus, at night. So we had a bunch of outings where we took photos of random things, looked for orbs. There were a lot, but I was never like OMG that's a ghost. So one day we got our hands on a tape recorder. We had ourselves a little seance. We formed a circle, did a generic reading to any spiritual things that might be present, and included some instructions. We were going to leave the tape on for 2 minutes and the group was going to be silent. This was a Friday night. After the tape we packed it up and went home. Our next club meeting was the following Tuesday. So our teacher chaperone/endorsement was a nice guy. But not anything special as far as teachers go. You know the type. So we sit down and start talking and the teacher tells us that we should probably listen to the tape. So, we fire it up. Everything is going exactly like we remembered. Silence begins. About 45 seconds and the tape screeches, makes a sound like it's speeding up. And then in a low gravelly voice we hear, "Get out." Tape screeches again, resumes. Entire 2 minutes of silence accounted for. I don't know what to make of the event. All I know is I don't believe the tape was doctored. A. I don't think the teacher had the skills to do so. B. It was physical tape, not digital. And the recorder was probably older than I was/am. It might not have been a big deal to just go over and tape over the silence, but I don't think that accounts for the strange sounds the tape made. Number 3. We saw an unexplainable, bright light flash in the sky. About 3 years ago I was out stargazing with a friend on top of a hill in my hometown at about 2 a.m. on a really hot night. Like it was scorching. We were in the middle of a heat wave and you'd be lucky if the temperature was 30 degrees Celsius. As we were watching the stars and talking, there was this massive bright light, and we initially thought it was just a shooting star, but we soon realized that it must have been in our atmosphere because it kept getting closer and closer. Eventually it was literally right over the top of us. It was silent and didn't disturb the environment whatsoever. Then it just flashes and disappears. Believe it or not, that isn't the strange part. The strange part is that after the flash of light happened, we woke up on the ground almost exactly 5 meters away from where we were laying and it was 7 a.m. in the morning. Naturally I just assumed it was a dream. I told my friend about the dream, and she says, with very distant eyes, that wasn't a dream. I thought he was joking, but she was adamant about it. She was absolutely sure that what we saw wasn't a dream. I think she's pulling some kind of elaborate prank, so I don't take the bait. We walk home, and she's shaken to her core. Barely talking. Staring off into nothing. Her hands literally shaking. It went on for weeks. Whatever she saw that night, whatever happened, it fucking really scared her. One day a few weeks later I bring it up and she aggressively yells at me and tells me to never ever talk to her about that night ever again. She was an otherwise very chill person who rarely ever raised her voice at anything. She basically refused to go out at night time after that, and she never talked about the incident for the rest of her life. She died last year, and ever since then, I can't help but feel as though maybe something did happen that night on the hill. Number 4. I felt the hand of a ghost grab my arm. When I was younger my parents got me a bunk bed so I could have friends come over and spend the night. You know, try to be the cool kid in elementary school who invited all his friends over. Well, it was a trick eventually soon after my uncle moved in with us and he crashed on the bottom bunk while I slept on the top. My uncle also happened to be bartending at the time so he often came home really late like 2 a.m. for example. Sometimes a bit intoxicated, sometimes not. Well, one night after he comes home and wakes me up from all the noise he makes, I tell him good night then roll over and try to fall back asleep. After falling back asleep maybe 30 minutes later I feel the most unbelievable strong grasp on my arm. Imagine a full-grown man taking his hand and wrapping it around your entire forearm. That's what it felt like for maybe a good 2 seconds then gone. Of course it woke me up freaking out. I looked down thinking it was my uncle fucking with me. He was passed out on his stomach. To this day I don't know what caused it. I know for a fact it woke me up, so it could have been some weird dream where the feelings transferred over into the real world a little bit. Number 5. A heavy statue fell over for no reason at all. I was either 13 or 14, home alone one evening before my parents got home from work. In my room watching TV when I hear the blinds from our patio door in the kitchen slightly move. I freak out and go take a look and notice them just stopping as I arrive. I am weirded out, but in my head I explain it as a current that passed in the house since our heating is on. As I'm heading back to the room I hear a sharp thump sound as if something has fallen. I'm freaking out as I now think there is someone in the house, but I know there is no way they could have been in the kitchen and then my room without me noticing. I peek inside and see my baseball player statue that has a flat base laying sideways on my dresser. Somehow it got knocked over. I freaking run downstairs, put the TV on full blast as I didn't want to hear anything else, and wait terrified for my parents to get home. After that evening I never experienced anything freaky at all in that house.